am Travis Keys. I am Executive Vice President of APA, American Photographic Artists National. I used to be Chairman of New York, and I'm joined by Deborah Gilbert, our Regional Director of New York, who is fantastic at putting all these wonderful events together and getting amazing people to come and talk to us like Harvey, who are so pleasantly just we're excited. What can I say? It's like I think we're all here because we fell in love with a picture. We love photography. We want to learn more about the business, and to have Harvey here, and with his long, wonderful eye and talking to us about his work is a real pleasure tonight. And we're so excited. So if you have questions, throughout it, make sure that you jot them down or you remember them so you can ask us at the end. And we certainly want to ask those live. I see people are already kind of jump out. Oh, Charles, greetings. Hello. Welcome, Charles. My chat is disabled. Okay, so we'll enable the chat and make sure that that's get going. We'll get that going. Let's say that going. Deborah, say hi while I am enabling the chat, and then I'll jump back in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to APA members. People who aren't APA members, all the photographers, people from all around the world, all the ships at sea. Welcome to this. Before we get started, we'll also let some more people filter in, and we'll tell you about some upcoming events we have going on with APA coming up in October. Couple of in-person events. Yeah, October is mostly in-person events, which is exciting.
Someone say hi to me in the chat to make sure it's enabled. I think we're good with the chat there. Tell me where you're from, what brought you here. If maybe you're in, hey, hello. There we go. We know the chat is now enabled. Fantastic. So just to let you know, for those of that are APA members, we want to thank you for all you do, and we're only as strong as our membership is, and with the more voice we have, the more members, the louder our voice is. We are here to enable you to have more tools to be a more successful photographer. We want to fight for advocacy and copyrights and rights for photographers and equal pay and all the things that are important. We see a world that's striking out there, and it's we don't have a union like that per se. We do in like film and TV and stuff like that. There is a union for the photographers in cinema. But for us, we have to get out there and really kind of join together and work together as one to really protect ourselves and do what's right for each other. So it's very important that we look out for each other. We share stories, we share information, and that we're a group that is out there to help educate each other and learn from one another. So we're really excited about that. I joined APA quite a while ago now, and it has been an incredible place for me not only to give back to I say I kissed a lot of frogs in my life, and the camera turned out to be my happily ever after. So if I can give back and help people along the way, photography has given me so much and opened up doors that I didn't even know were there. And it's been a key to travel all around the world. So I'm the happiest person that I can do this for a living and talk to wonderful people like this. Deborah, what brought you into the photography world?
It's weird. I started as an artist when I was a kid. I was drawing and painting. And at some point I got to the point where I realized I'd spent my whole life sitting in my room by myself painting. I thought, well, at least I picked up a camera. Could be out and around with people and still create images, but be more social. And that's what made me pick it up. I also was fascinated with I went into the camera store and said, I want one of those cameras that has the thing that sticks out the front. I didn't know it was a lens. So I spent my whole, remember Christmas clubs? I spent my whole Christmas club on a.
I always love to hear what people's first cameras were. And I know people aren't here to kind of listen to us, but we're going to get into introducing our wonderful guests in just a second. And say, just for those of you that aren't APA members, please look us up at apanational.org. We're an organization that's really there to help you and to help each other. And it's all about networking and workshops and portfolio reviews and all these great tools to make you a more successful photographer. And Deb will go more into that. And Deb, let's not hold back. Why don't you introduce our wonderful guest tonight?
Okay. Well, do you want me to mention upcoming APA events first?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. I also mentioned that we have people today, they're checking in, telling us where they're from. We have people from all over the country: Virginia, Cincinnati, Bar Harbor, Maine, North Carolina, Connecticut, West Palm Beach. Ooh, fancy.
Ooh, the East Village.
East Village, yes.
Austin, Texas, I see.
East Village represents. But what we have coming up in October, on October 19th, at School of Visual Arts Amphitheater, which is the theater that's on East 23rd Street, we have Phil Penman, who's going to be giving a talk and doing a book signing of his beautiful new book. And
just quickly before we you quickly kind of go by Phil Penman, and you've had Phil Penman, and I've become friends with him. This guy is so giving in what he does, and gives a master class on seeing light and seeing people and empathy of people and his portraits. That is really one not to be missed. And he is such an incredible person, Devin. I'm so glad that you're doing that at SVA.
Yeah. And also at SVA on the 17th, we have a class on the west side, another one of their spaces. We have something about treatments. This is really for commercial photographers who learning about treatments. It's going to be a panel discussion with art directors, helping photographers learn how to better do treatments to help you get the job. We also have something else that I just went right out of my head. I can't remember.
Well, think about it. I mean, certainly with the, what's exciting about the treatment stuff, it's like, it's one of those things people like kind of glaze over, like, should I go to that or not? That's like one of the nuggets and one of the most important things that if you understand how to do it properly, you're going to set yourself apart and get jobs that, you probably wouldn't get. And that's one of those things, like, the importance of like doing your taxes right. It's like you should sit in on a class like that and really figure out how to do it proper.
Yeah. And also coming up in December, we have our big event. There's anyone on the list here who entered our second annual juried photography exhibition competition. That's going to be happening in early December at Soho Photo Gallery. It's going to be a whole week of not only a show, but a whole week of all kinds of events happening, that are educational events, fun events. We're going to have an opening party. We're going to have a Christmas party. So that's something that's not to be missed. More details will be coming in the newsletter. And if you don't get our newsletter, make sure you drop your email address into the chat. You can send it. You don't have to send it publicly. You can send it just to panelists, and we'll add you to our mailing list. But let me introduce Harvey. We were talking about this before. I was already thinking, Harvey mentioned how long we've known each other. And I said I was going to be putting this in the introduction. We've known each other since 1985. We're getting to the point where we have to start lying about how long we've known each other because it ages both of us. But I used to run a photography program at the long gone Olden Camera, and had Harvey come and speak. And those were very different classes. Those were in person at night, 35 people. Amazing little classes. And Harvey, the people who
classroom.
Yeah, who came to speak. Yes, it was in a classroom. But Harvey was already a well-known working photographer then. And his images have been widely published around the world, including in 10 books. Having one book of your photographs published is impressive, but 10 books is like, like the 1950s Yankees. His photographs are also in over 60 permanent collections, both corporate collections and collections that run the gamut of all bold-faced names in the museum world. In the gallery world, he's had 170 group shows and had 91 person shows. And I believe you have a new show coming up in October at
Soho Photo. The opening party is the 19th of October.
Which is when we'll be having our event with Phil Penman. But if you can't come to see Phil, you can go to Harvey's opening. But the show will be there for a few weeks. And you're a founding member of the gallery, aren't you?
1971.
Wow.
Wow.
That was too long ago for me to have known you, but I was still junior high school. But
I was 10 years old then, so.
Okay. In addition to being a photographer, Harvey's been a gallerist and is a much sought after teacher and lecturer. And if you'd like to take an extended course with Harvey, he teaches at ICP, School of Visual Arts here in New York, the Los Angeles Center of Photography out in LA. And he also leads intensive travel workshops around the world. You might want to take a trip with Harvey. We'll be posting links in the chat. You can cut and paste the links to get all that information. But without further ado, it's Harvey Stein.
Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Debbie and Travis. I've met Debbie. I remember meeting Debbie more recently when she was running the event center at an unnamed photo store in New York. I am very happy to be here, and I thank you for being here. So tonight I want to talk about three things: street photography, doing books, and long-term projects. So I'm going to start, and I want to show you three books, my last three books, selections from my last three books. And I want to show you new pictures that I've never shown before from my new book that I'm working on and struggling with, to be honest. And that's a book of photographs that I'm making in India, a long ways off, and I'm going there next week to shoot for about 8 days, and then back for my opening at Soho Photo. So some notes and words about books, photo books, for those people who are interested in doing a book or have done a book. I think every photographer wants to do a photo book eventually. And I say, great, but we're not going to make money from doing photo books. So that's one thing that we don't want to expect. The reason to do a book is because you have something to say, that you want to add your voice to the cacophony of what's out there, and you're passionate and caring about your subject, that you love your subject. Maybe you're the only person that's ever photographed the subject, highly unlikely, but that you want to that you're spending time on a project that really engages you. So it's to get work out there in a form that's coherent and passionate and with something to say that you think other people would be interested in. So I think of a photo book as something beyond just a collection of images. It has an entity of its own, a life of its own. It's part of the family. I collect books. I look at books all the time. I'm educated by books. And to do a book is not easy. It's a bit of a struggle, but I think it's a great accomplishment. My first book is, I might show if we have time, is on identical twins from birth to death in a sequence as they age, different sets of twins at different ages from beginning of life to the end of life. No one's dead. And I just got a great sense of completion, the fact that I could begin, carry out, and end a project on my own. One reason I love photography is because it's all up to us. You have a camera, you have legs, you have eyes, you have a finger to snap the shutter, and it's all up to you. There's no assistance really. There's no, like if you're making a film, there's not hundreds of people on a set. I enjoy street photography because I can roll out of my apartment on a New York street, take a subway, or even in the neighborhood, and just start photographing. You don't need a lot of equipment, and you don't need a lot of hassle to get it rolling or get it started. And ultimately, it is very existential, all up to us as individuals. We're the only one behind the camera. We're the only one timing our shot. So it's you know, we get the praise or we don't. We do it or we don't. It's pretty black and white. It's pretty matter of fact. So I've always liked that aspect of photography. So I say, try to do a book that changes people's minds or educates people. That's a tall order, not easy to do. Not every book does that. I want to make meaningful images. I want to make images that I like and that I think other people will get something out of. I do it for myself first and foremost. I'm not commercial. And I think it's a mistake to try to play into the marketplace. Forget the marketplace. Be true to yourself. That to me is the most important factor. Find something you're interested in, investigate it with your camera, research it, go online and read about it. You become the expert. And you have to go out and again, on your own, make it happen. No one's going to do it for you. It's a journey. It's a process, one that requires a lot of patience. The book that I've taken the shortest time to make is 6 years of shooting, with one exception, and I'll talk about that. I'm going to show that tonight. It takes a lot of time. I've done books that have taken 6 years, 18 years, 23 years, 40 years, Coney Island, 40 years. And my last book that came out about a year ago, Coney Island People, 50 years. I worked on it for 50 years. So either you've got to be stupid to do this or a genius. So I know I'm not a genius. So, and I don't know that I'm that stupid, but it's just in my blood. I just had to go back and keep doing it and keep doing it. And one of the secrets to doing a book, seems to me, is to keep going back to a place or a family or a tree, to document it, to record it, to photograph it, to get to know the place. I did a book on Mexico. It's the first book I'm going to show you tonight, where I went, I made 18 trips I made 14 trips in 18 years. I kept going back to the same villages, the same small towns. Of course, I would go to Mexico City, but that wasn't where I was really shooting much. I landed there and took buses, going back, and covering the situation, the subject from every angle, backwards, forwards, left side, right side, above, below, until you are satisfied with it. Never really being satisfied. You can't be satisfied because there's always more. The thing that causes you to stop, if you get a contract, a book contract, is that you have to submit the work. Finally, I work until the very end, until I have to submit the work. Even with Coney Island 50 years, I added a picture after the 50 years because I loved it and I thought it was so good. And I asked the publisher, Schiffer, if they would accept it maybe 9 months after the deadline. And they graciously did. They made room for it. And they were working on it by that time. So it's never finished. It's never finished. And even when the book is finished, I go back to Mexico. I go back to Coney Island to keep doing it because it gets into your blood. I always want to move on, but I always don't want to lose the past also, I have to say. A book should have a point of view, a theme, an overriding theme. Maybe there's a few themes in the book, but there should be one that's really the major theme. The thing that causes books to be rejected the most is that the book is not focused. It should be focused, coherent, unified, coming from one point of view, from one sensibility. And the reason, again, that books are not selected often, more so than not, the one biggest reason is that it's not coherent. It's not focused. So think about that and work on that, Okay, I'm going to close my window because there's some noise coming in.
The good thing is we can't hear it.
Sorry. Oh, good. I can hear it and it's really annoying and I don't know why. It sounds like construction. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and bring in some photos and discuss the photos and the related issues of book publishing and street photography. So here we go. And so, oops, I have to save. I forget to do that once in a while. All right, and I'm gonna make this full screen. So
There
there's
we
no
go. Looking
other,
good.
is that good?
Yeah,
Yeah,
looking good.
great, great. So this is a book called Mexico Between Life and Death. I started it in 1993. I finished shooting in 2010. 14 trips in 18 years. I think that's 18 years. And I didn't start thinking about publishing it until about 2016 and found the publisher Career in Germany. They're a fabulous publisher. I totally recommend them. The only problem is that they ask for money. I have never been interested in paying a publisher to publish my work. I wanted this book published so badly that I did pay them. And that's the trend these days. There's hardly any publisher that won't ask you for money. Perhaps the small presses won't, and but they will. They will. Many of them say they don't, but most of them do. The trend since 2010 is to ask the photographer for money. And that allows the publisher to make at least a profit. Otherwise, they might go under. I paid, I'm going to tell you, around $23,000 to Career. I've never had to do it before, and I haven't done it in my last 3 books. So it's not a good habit to get into. We pay enough with our time, our cameras, our you know, in my case, film and printing. I do all my printing. I do all my film loading. I roll my own film. I have great expenses for all that. Do I need another outlay of money? But I wanted this book out because I think, honestly, it's my strongest book of the 10. And I just love the book, and I love the way they produced it. Maybe the old adage, you get what you pay for, is true. Probably my best book is this, and it's the only one that I've paid for. You want to be an active author. I went there, I worked with their designers. In that $23,000 charge, I get the use of their designer. I get X number of books to sell. I still have books to sell. If anyone wants a book, you can let me know. So this is the cover. This is Fox, the president, a mask of Fox, not Fox. And this was done in a town called Etla outside of Guanajuato during Day of the Dead. I was attracted as a youth in my early teens to Mexico. I must have read about it, learned about it in school, and I felt, how could this country be so different that's right next door to us? Canada's like us. Mexico is not like us, at least when I was growing up. And even now, I've been there, in the 90s and up to 2010, I found it a very foreign country. Different language, different ways of practicing religion, different emotions, especially on the street, a different culture, a vibrant culture, a much more lively culture than most American culture, much more emotional, much more available. I found them, and still do, an intriguing, wonderful country. So I photograph what I fall in love with. I'm photographing India now. I love India. It's incredible. So this was during one of the processions during Day of the Dead, and he's in a skeleton costume, which just plays into my theme, life and death. I knew what I wanted to photograph when I went there. It's the only place I knew beforehand or had an inkling beforehand of what I wanted to shoot. I did a book on Italy. How many visits? 12 in going to Italy. It took me 3-4 years to know what the hell I was doing. In Mexico, I knew right away and I saw my vision. It's very rare and it's very lucky that that happens. So this is Halloween, and the Mexicans, the traditional Mexican does not like our intrusion into their culture very much. Halloween being an example, their kids celebrating Halloween instead of Day of the Dead or All Saints Day. It happens the same time. And these kids are not asking for candy, they're asking for money. They are smart. They don't like American kids, they want crappy chocolate. These kids are stopping trucks and people on the street and asking for money. And maybe he was mad at me that I didn't give him anything. I don't know. But I saw the gesture and I photographed it. So you've got to be, okay. This is during Palm Sunday. So I would go during Easter, I'd go during their 4th of July celebration, which is September 10th, I think. I'd go for Day of the Dead. I'd go for holidays and celebrations a lot. And I would go I taught workshops there. So I would go sometimes on my own and at various times of the year. Thankfully, no snow. I love this gesture. I like hands. I like active movements in street photography. I saw this book and it said in big bold white letters Hitler, and I saw the guy sleeping and I went over to shoot him and this hand reached in. I don't know if he was trying to stop me. I don't recall. He wasn't aggressive toward me. It's just like a lucky. I believe in serendipity on the street for sure, but I was quick, and you got to be quick. By the way, I'm shooting with a 21mm lens almost exclusively with M4s. I still M6s at this time, and M4. I still have that camera. I shoot digitally, but mostly 80% of my work, 90% of my work is film. I have a film developing room right behind me. I have a dark room that I share in Midtown. I'm still printing and I still enjoy it. It's a long day, but I still enjoy it. So here I'm in Mexico City. I don't spend much time in Mexico City. It's very big. It can be glitzy. I'm not looking for beautiful Miami-like Mexico City. I'm looking for the small gestures, the small villages, traditional Mexico. And on his shirt, look what his shirt says, Ghost Rider with a skeleton. I'm looking for that. He has a wand in his hand and he's blowing bubbles from a basket of liquid. And I was lucky enough to get a bubble in front of his face, which made the image for me. Another mask. I like masks. I like obscuring faces sometimes, and I like beautiful portraits with beautiful, intriguing faces also. I think this is a very successful photograph for me. I'm showing violence. I'm showing a fight. This is in San Miguel de Allende. I'm showing cobblestones. I'm showing old facades. This is in a cemetery during Day of the Dead. They spend a night, I think November 1st. The family cleans the grave site days before, even paints, plants vegetation a little bit, just really cleans things up. And they decorate the grave, the actual grave. They put marigolds on the grave and on the ground to give the path for the ancestors to come down to visit. So this is the night the ancestors come. They leave food, They have candles, and you could go in the cemeteries and walk around. This is a little early, it's still daylight, and here's the family. They have photographs, pictures of their families, of their deceased family members, their ancestors, and they try to behave and be good and welcoming because the ancestors could visit upon them some not so nice things. And here the families just gathered. The Mexicans were very curious about me, at least, and I think they're curious. They want to often be photographed. This is in another cemetery, another day, during the day, and I was drawn to her eyes. I think she must have been blind. And here's her vase and her flowers. I didn't see the kid. The kid, for me, and her make this photograph. I was so intrigued by her face, and these are native people, obviously, right? So the cemeteries I would go definitely during Day of the Dead. I knew where to go. I had a good plan, and it worked. I'm also showing the difference between rich and poor. This is in San Miguel. San Miguel is a kind of a resort town for people from Mexico City. It's about an hour drive, an hour and a half drive. I never drove there. I took a bus from Mexico City. Uh, and these wealthy, and you can see she looks pretty glamorous and wealthy with her fancy glasses. This is probably 2008, and she has a cell phone, or what looks like a cell phone. I guess cell phones were around then, 2008, 26. And here's a native Indian woman selling her dolls amongst these wealthy women. So the contrast, I'm interested in contrast, right? Rich and poor, young and old, hard and soft. Here's a kid for Day of the Dead asking me for money in this small town. I want to go to small traditional villages and towns. And he's rather scary. We didn't talk. I usually talk to my subjects. I don't know Spanish very well at all, even though I went there 14 times and have gone to many South American cities and done workshops there. This is Easter. So another family, the church, the gathering. There's lots of processions during Day of the Dead. It's called Semana Santa also. That's the Holy Week of Easter. And another symbol that runs through my work are bars in Mexico. Not drinking bars, but bars like this. You'll see another one coming up. So skeletons, bars. Here's men that are behind bars. I think this was at a concert, actually, a daytime, like traditional folk dance concert on a plaza. Probably, it's not Mexico City. I'd have to check it out. In the book, all the locations are described. I turned around. I was sitting, and I turned around and saw him, and just shot. And he didn't move. He didn't move, and he looked at me just like this. And again, I like obscuring faces. That's another theme. Another theme is the sombrero. And then there's guns. This can't be a real gun. I think it's probably a cap gun, but it's symbolic. I'm looking for symbolism. I'm looking for symbolic images of life and death. I have people dead. It's life and death. Here I'm showing more maybe the death images. And this final one is Mexico City. I honestly can't remember taking this picture. I say sometimes I think it just appeared on my film as a gift from somebody, right? Up there. I don't remember. I know there wasn't a shot fired. I don't know if it's real, but it is a dramatic photograph, at least for me. I don't want to photograph war. I don't want to photograph violence, but this was part of what Mexico to me was about. it's also about families, love, peace. I was welcomed. It's a beautiful country, and all that I didn't see any drug issues or anything like that. Had no problems. I brought workshops there, and we never had a problem. So, again, I don't want to skew it too much to the other side. Okay, I'm going to show you this book. This is called Then and There, Mardi Gras 1979. It came out in 2020, published by Zatara, Zatar Press. It's a small publisher, a one-man band, Andrew Fadnick in Richmond, Virginia. I met him at an APAD fair where they had book companies had tables and selling books. And I went up to him and we started talking. It happened he knew of me from ICP. He studied at ICP. And he asked me, do you have any work? This is 2018. Do you have any work that would be surprising coming from you in the sense that you're noted as a street photographer? Do you have any work that maybe isn't that or hasn't been put out there? And I said, yeah. I thought a bit, and I have quite a lot of work that hasn't been shown actually. But I said, yeah, I have Polaroids of when I went to the Mardi Gras in 1979, and I did this series of people in facial makeup and wearing masks. And he said, well, let me see it. He came up a month later from Richmond, and I had 80 Polaroids in a drawer for 40 years almost, in perfect condition. That's a miracle. And he said, I want to publish it. So he does 4 or 5 books a year. Every book is really quirky. He said my book is the most traditional book he's done, but I had never worked with a small press. He designed the book. He laid it out. He did the scans from the Polaroids, and this is what we have. I'm going to show you 10 images. Sorry, but what I wanted to point out is the photographs on the front and back cover are embossed. They're inlaid. This is gold leaf. He took from the colors of the Mardi Gras are gold, this maroon, is that maroon or purple, and green, and on the edge and the spine you have those colors here. And the proportion of the book is in relation to the size of the Polaroid. So he's a stickler for doing these kinds of things. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. So I went there with several other photographers, including Bruce Gilden, who was a friend at the time. I guess we're still friendly, but we haven't seen each other in a long, long time. Charles Gatewood, I don't know if you know his name, and a good friend of mine, Jim Coleman. And we hung out and we shot during the day. I shot Mardi Gras with my Leicas. I had several Leicas, no digital. And I happened to buy an SX70 camera in 1973, and this was 79. And I thought, oh, I'll bring it along. So when it got darkish, twilight, I would go out with my SX70, mounted on it were flash cubes, and I would try something different. I did all the raucous parades and the crazy stuff during the day. I got a meal and then went out in the evening. And this developed. I saw the faces. This is not the parades. These are individuals that I walked up to, could talk to. And the SX70 was a monstrous kind of camera, not big, but instant but slow. You press a button, it's hard to frame. Outspits a Polaroid image, 3x4 almost, but it takes a minute or so to develop. We look at it together, we talk. And if they like it, I will do a second one and give them the second print. So I keep one and they keep one. So it's a very interactive, interactive experience. And you can see my strategy, my visual, pictorial, graphic strategy is low light in the background, close flash, illuminating them, and making the background go dark, silhouette, with some sky. It doesn't always happen, and not too much else. It's probably not, it's probably a 40 millimeter lens. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look into that. And I just went up one after another to these people. And they were obviously showing off their wares and their creativity, and were happy to be photographed. Now, this image, I like it a lot. I think it's one of the more creative with the palette. She might be an artist. And I talked to them. I didn't interview them. It was too quick. I do interviews on the street often with my phone. So look at this. Look at the Polaroid's a dye process, and often after a while, years, certainly more than 40 years, they fade, they turn. So you can see a little bit here where there's a discoloration, I would say, but it's going into the direction of what the colors are in the image. So I think it's fabulous. Wow. So these are one of a kind. I would never sell these. I'm having a show of this work, 20 of these, at Soho Photo on White Street in New York. It opens October 18th, but the opening party, where there'll be other shows at Soho Photo. It's an organization. It's a member gallery. I was a founding member. I'll be the guest every month. They have a guest. I'll be showing these, and you can see they're beautiful, small. They're 3 by 4. You have to get your face into it to see it, because it's going in the opposite direction of what the photo world's been doing with exhibiting, and that's large, large, large. This is small, small, small. There's the flash off the glasses, and some people are smiling. I tell them, just look into the camera, look at the camera, look at the camera. And I think I love the spotlight uh, um, feeling here, and the underexposure to darken the background. I do that with my flash, with black and white and digital photography. Here, more blue sky than most, maybe it was a little earlier. But again, you can see the flash on camera, the catch lights in the eyes. That's from the flash. These were not manipulated. This is the way it came out. I'd say many images were ruined because the emulsion breaks. You can see right here on the corner, that's a defect. And this dot, it's a defect. Sometimes your rollers aren't clean. It comes there's chemistry that breaks and goes, and the print goes through a roller, and the chemistry spread on the print, on the layers, and then it hardens after it comes out. And sometimes the gook of the chemistry gets put onto the film, and it's usually a reject. So here's another couple. Usually I'm low shooting up. I want to use the sky as the backdrop. You can see an uneven sky here. You can see a little bit of a line. That's probably from a roller that wasn't clean, or I always cleaned it. You clean it with alcohol, but it's really hard to control. She was showing her tongue for me, so be it. I have several pictures of her. So to me, the themes are creativity, mask, pastime, in the sense that this is 40 years ago. It's transformation, it's identity, it's transforming who you are into someone else. The reason I love masks is we become someone else. We become our alter ego or someone we admire or someone we want to be. Masks allow us to do that. And this is the last one I'll show you with this. I would ask for questions now, but we got to roll on. Okay. So here's my latest book, Coney Island People, 50 Years. Came out this time last year, September. It came out in September, yeah, last year, 2022. It was supposed to come out in May, but it got caught in the supply shortage deals. It was printed in India of all places, and to get it from India to America a year ago, May, when there was all the shipping delays, it didn't happen. So it was supposed to be a summer beach book. And so as a result, it hasn't gotten the attention that it deserves. That's what I said. So this is the cover. Usually the cover for me is my favorite photograph in all of the work. So this was, and it has to be for me horizontal because all my books, except maybe the Then and There book, the SX70 book, are horizontal. My books are all horizontal because I shoot horizontally 80% of the time. Although I like shooting vertically, but I shoot vertically, horizontally. So this is Michael. I photographed him in August of 21. It was 6 months after I had to give them being Schiffer publishers, give them all the work. It takes about 9 months from the time you give a publisher everything to the time the book comes out. That could be made faster. It could be delayed because they don't want to do it as fast or they get bogged down in other things. You sign a contract, and that's another discussion. So this is Michael, and I met him on the beach at Coney Island, where there's an area where there's all kinds of not weightlifting, but exercises, and these guys are amazing. So I saw him do this from a distance, and I asked, "Could you do this again?" And he said, "Yes, I'll do it as long as you want." And he stayed up there for minutes and minutes. I can't imagine how you could do that. I think for me, this was to me, this was a gift. I think, and this is 2021, the height of the epidemic. And I see his legs as pointing like an arrow to better times. And the fact that he did this for me really touched me. We became friends. I've seen him a couple times. And it's just a gift. And then to ask Schiffer to hold the presses, they weren't printing yet. They wouldn't have done that, but they were still laying it out and designing it. So there was time, and this to me is one of my favorite images. So I'm just going to go through these. This is during the Mermaid Parade. This is actually at the end of the parade. There's so many people watching that even at the end, where it's not a parade, people are lined up watching. I don't stand behind barriers when I'm doing a parade usually. I'm in the parade, and I always am in this parade. I go as a photographer. They kick me out, and I come back, and I weave and bob and weave and get through it. So there's a lot of mermaids, and I photograph them, of course. The key is to go early. There's an area where they dress, put on makeup, and start getting on their costumes. It used to be you paid $5 to get into this area. Now it's $50. I feel it's worth it. It supports the parade. The parade is amazing. Sometimes I don't need to pay. They know me. Sometimes they pay. It's an amazing day. It's always the third Saturday in June, rain or shine. This was in the winter, and I go and it's desolate, but there's always someone there. There's my shadow. So I'm in the photograph also. This is January 1st. The polar bears, the Polar Bear Swim Club, the oldest swim club in America, 1903. I know them well. They go swimming from November to April, only in the winter, on every Sunday at 1 p.m. off the boardwalk. They go onto the beach. They do some jumping around and exercise, warm up. They go into the frigid water. It could be 20 degrees, 15 degrees. Some stay for 20 minutes, some for 40. They come out, and it's about an hour deal, and I shoot them a lot. And this is the big swim is January 1st, and the year is 2010. Whoops, right? 2010. And I would say anytime you see a man or a woman in a diaper, go rush to photograph them, because you ain't going to see it very often. And how unique is that? Obviously, he was the new baby for the new year, and he loved being photographed, no problem. Here, you can see an obvious strategy: frame her with the wonderful wonder wheel. It's not a Ferris wheel, it's a wonder wheel. And the fact that she had a cigarette even adds to it. She looks like a dame from the 1940s or something, like a movie, a film noir film. I didn't know her. I just saw her, and I walk up to people. I get close. That's another one of my signature style elements. I get close. I fill the frame. This is an artist. This is his pet rabbit that he makes. I wrote about him in my artist statement. I forget his name. Obviously, he's Japanese. I haven't seen him in a long time. I used to see him there a lot. And this is for the swim. Lots of police. Not someone died at one of these swims. So not the January swim, but one of the polar bear swims. So now they have lifeguards, they have boats out in the water, and they have police. I loved his hair. So there's always something about the photograph that I love that causes me to select it or consider it. I'm here. Here's my shadow. In the book, facing him is a white woman with hair like this, that's all up in the air, against the sky on the beach. Another year, almost the same shot, but it's a woman with crazy, wonderful hair too. So I paired them. I didn't bring her. I would say if you see a woman looking like this, go up and photograph her. I get shy. If I see a naked woman on the street, I probably won't shoot her, but photograph her. But this is her costume, and she's wanting to, she's Marilyn, obviously. I don't know if I got the best photograph I could have. She was surrounded. It was tough. You can imagine how many people would want to photograph her. A quieter moment. I tilted the camera. I'm not sure why. A la Gary Winogrand. Gary Winogrand, my favorite street photographer ever, tilts every photograph, and he gets away with it. No one else can do that. I like the light. I pay attention to light. I pay attention to background, timing, hands. What are hands doing, if anything? Look, I always ask people to look into the camera. I want that connection. I feel that's important for me. I want them to acknowledge my presence as I'm acknowledging them with my camera. I'm alive, you're alive, we're connecting. I don't do candid. I try not to. I fall into that. It's easier. I think I'm different as a street photographer by not doing candids and by giving a person a chance to interact with me, even to say no. I get no's, I don't like it, but I don't take it personally and I move on. So my strategy is to go up to people, and it works for me. Think 85% of street photographers do candids, uh, and some street photographers don't consider what I do street photography because it's not candid. There's nowhere that it said the street photography has to be candid. I think, look, Winogrand, my favorite, I love him. I've met him. I think he's brilliant. He never does, he only does candid photography, right? So I can admire that, but he does it really well. There's a lot of junk out there uh, in any medium and in any segment of photography. So here I'm in the parade. I She stopped because maybe there was a stoppage or I stopped her. And often I'll ask people with glasses to lift their head so I get this reflection off their glasses of the sun. And she posed. I will tell them, look into the camera. Don't look at me. I don't say, look at me. I say, look into the camera. And the second thing I will usually tell them is, can you be serious? Can you be serious? I don't say, don't smile. I don't want to give them a negative direction. I say, can you look into the camera? And can you be serious? I let them smile. I'll shoot the first 2 or 3 smiles and then shoot, ask them to not smile and do 3 or 4. The other thing I do, if we're connecting and we're talking, is I do 5 shots, 10 shots, and I don't leave until I feel I've gotten it. So I'll do a vertical, a horizontal, I'll move to the left. I might get up higher, I might get low and shoot, do different angles. Don't be so quick to run away from someone that is liking it, enjoying it. I also always say thank you when I leave. This is my friend Sonia. I think this was during the swim during January 1st, and she was there. Sonia's a wonderful photographer, a wonderful young lady. She was a former student. She's out in Santa Fe now, getting all kinds of degrees. And she grabbed the guy with his sign and I photographed him. She's in the book twice. She's so good. This is the first picture I ever had published in Life magazine, 1970, December issue, December 1970. I saw him. This was before I was a photographer. My first camera, by the way, Debbie was mentioning that, a Zeiss Icon Contaflex. I got it in Germany when I was in the army, and that's where I started photographing in the 60s, early 60s. No war then. It wasn't World War II. I was stationed in Germany for 20 months as a second lieutenant in the combat engineers. And I got a camera. And then I came back to New York. And so I came to Coney Island. I saw him sitting there. He was looking down at his book. I got down on my knee and shot, and he heard the click. He looked up and he said, "Get away, get away." And I got up and I left. And this is one of the most successful photographs I've ever done, even before I was a photographer. Is it luck? Is it skill? I don't know. Is it budding skill? I should have quit then because it was in Life magazine. I haven't done a better photograph ever. She didn't move a muscle. Perfect. So this is a zigzag. Her from the corner, vertical, to here, this dominant element, to the the foursome to the wheel, the wonder wheel. So I like her so much. She gave me a gift again. It's a gift. I said hello. I was nice to her. I mean, but a lot of kids move or they smile or they don't want it, believe it or not. I don't know where her mother was. I like this guy because of his dogs and his size. He has a little chihuahua and he's a big, big guy. And then the dog here. And he comes and we talked a lot. He comes to Coney Island from Philadelphia. He likes it so much. I think I posed him. I put him next. I saw the coat. I saw him. He's a polar bear. He's waiting to go off the boardwalk to the beach into the water. And I like the saying Coney Island. It tells us something about where we are and who he is, perhaps. This is a swim, Coney Island swim. I thought she was January 1st. I thought she was pretty terrific. And this kid just staring at her saying, wow, I can't wait to be an adult. I want to know people like this. And I thought she was really, I loved her costume. So I asked her, could you I moved her to this only area where I can photograph. I'll move people. I don't like the background. I'll move them, not half a block away, but a little away from a crowd to isolate them. I like to do isolated portraits on the street because often the backgrounds are way too chaotic. Whoops. So this is this photograph is in the 2022 book, the 50 years. It's also the cover of my book, Coney Island 40 Years. Coney Island People 50 Years is a different book 10 years later. I continued after 40 years to shoot more. I love this picture. It's been published a lot. I've sold it a lot. It was the signature image for the Brooklyn Museum show on Coney Island that had all kind of media. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, and I spent time with these people. The back cover of this book is the group. There were about 12 of them, younger people than them, probably teenagers, probably Hispanic, really open to being photographed. I don't know if the guy was stoned, drunk, or totally in love and out of his gourd being hugged by this beautiful woman. So I don't know the story between them, but I know the story of how I made this. And the hands reaching in, like I want to be part of it. Okay, a little bit more. I have 10 more images, maybe 15. This is India. This is from a trip I just did, 2023, February. I went to 3 cities, Delhi, Agra, 4 cities, Lucknow, and Varanasi. They're all in a line in northern India, northern-ish India. I'm going to Delhi next week for 8 days for an assignment, and I'm going back in February of next year to do a workshop. I have 11 people already signed up. There's 1 space left. So if you're interested, let me know. It'll be my 8th trip next February. It's just an amazing country. And again, I'm getting close. Now I'm shooting digitally. I have an old digital Canon 5D Mark II. I'm comfortable with it. I use only 1 lens, a 16 to 35 millimeter, and that's all I use. So I'm getting close. This is in, I guess, yeah, Varanasi. Varanasi is the most incredible city, the most sacred city. I think it's the oldest city in India, definitely the most sacred, and it's on the Ganges. It's where they do cremations in the Ganges. The Ganges is the dirtiest river ever, and in the world, I think. And people swim in it. You'll see that. So I love the faces, the gestures. I'm just struggling now with editing. I've looked at 5,000 pictures. I've got it down to 300. I just rejected this image. I'm working on this almost daily, and I'm I'm rethinking my themes. This happens all the time. It's definitely street. It was going to be street portraits. I think I'm getting too close sometimes. I want to do scenes, so I might not do just portraits, and so it's a struggle. It's to know what the heck you really want to do or what the photographs are saying. It's an exciting time when you're working on a new project rather than just doing the same old. And like I did a book on artists, so I knew once I got started, I had a way of working, strategies. So by the fourth year, I was getting tired, maybe shooting by rote. Um, what's really exciting is when you're just starting and you're exploring and thinking more, you're more alive with it, and you're not stuck, or not stuck, but in a pattern. I don't want to be in a pattern. I want to be spontaneous. I love this picture. It's very different. It's not a picture I would usually take. I don't know why I did. I love his eyelashes. They're gorgeous. And just his look. Why are they so low? I never have heads low like this. They're always up high. This is a badly framed image, but it works for me. And here's my head, you know, and I like all out of focus. That's unusual, except for the prominent subject. I usually I try to maximize the information in my photographs. I want a background, and usually in focus. This kid was hanging out. This is a park across the river. I can't remember, the Uama River, some river. And we shot it at sunrise during the workshop this year and many years. We would go early to this park across the river and shoot the sunrise. And there's the Taj Mahal, small and seen differently. I have many wonderful photographs from this park. And this kid was just standing there. I think he wanted money. It's sunrise. I did use a flash on camera. You can high, and you can see this. I need to. It's a little too bright. This has not been edited yet and worked. I would tone it down a little bit, but I like the pose and the environment. Here, I love this face coming out at me. I'm above, shooting down, and here he's in the Ganges. I'm at the edge of the Ganges. I wouldn't go in it. I didn't have a bathing suit, and it's very dirty. They go to the bathroom, and they bathe. No one dies from it, and it's amazing. It's huge crowds in the Ganges. I love his directness, the stare. I love it. And here's the opposite, where the face is obscured. I thought this was interesting. He's probably painting, and this is probably Varanasi. I don't know that I'll use it. It might be too different than all my other photos. It's a little more unusual, maybe. Someone said to me, I posted this, it's on Instagram. This is a small village outside of the city of Agra. Agra is where the Taj is located. And he said to me in a message, an Instagram message, oh, I like this, but I wish it would have been even better with the man's details. Well, no, I like him in shadow. As a matter of fact, there's too many details in his face for me. I would make him totally a silhouette. It's much more interesting an image, much more, I thought, mysterious, maybe moody, and contrasting. Are they a couple? Are they man and wife? I don't know. I don't know. She didn't speak English. I didn't speak her language. This is in a small village. This is in Lucknow, a city of 9 million people no one's ever heard of. It's a beautiful city, no tourists, nothing. And I knew someone that went there and we checked it out, and I got my agency to book it for us. I liked him small. I liked this looming background. So I definitely choose work that I like. I have help sometimes. I'm working now with Margarita Mavro Nicholas, an amazing photographer who you guys should all be aware of. She's incredible. She's a great editor, but even better, a great photographer. The best photographer I know, one of the best. She gets embarrassed when I say the best. And I like this, and she likes this too. So that that gives me more courage to use it, I guess. I'm drawn to his thinness. Look at his arms, particularly. I don't know if I'll use it. I like real straightforward portraits with a little something unique. His uniqueness for me is his arms. By the way, 99% of the people, when you go up to them in India, say yes. 50% in Mexico say yes. 50% in Manhattan say yes. 75% in Brooklyn say yes. It varies. They ask you to photograph them. It is a street photographer's heaven. It's nirvana to photograph in India for a street photographer. Here, this is Varanasi. It's very religious. Pilgrims come all the time. And I loved her face. I loved her look and her emotionality and the face behind her. Here, he's either admonishing me, warning me, or agreeing with me. I'm not sure, and I like that ambiguity. And here, I know he was interested. He came at me, photograph, and he's posing in a way, but he's moving. This is Varanasi has small streets. They're not streets. You can barely walk. To get to the hotel by the Ganges, you have to take a boat. You cannot take a car in. It is it is what, chaotic. It's dense, dense, dense. It's old, old, old. And Modi, the president, the prime minister, is trying to clean it up and ruining it, I think. And so does a lot of people. This is in Lucknow at an early morning flower market. And I loved his hands, his face. It might need to be lightened a little bit. The flowers, I have lots of terrific photographs. In the market, very dense, very crowded. Only men in the market, but the female photographers had no problem. Very safe in India. And the last image is from a religious Hindu event that occurs every night in Varanasi. It's called an arti, and it's fire, smoke, music, and chanting and dance by young monks on a stage, maybe 12 monks on a stage, and it lasts for an hour. And it draws large free audiences. And I think this is after, and the fire is going to go out soon. And it gives a feeling of, their devotion. The Hindus have 3 million gods, as I understand it. Everything and everyone's a god. Okay, how are we doing on time? Wow, I'm finished. I do want to just put one thing up, and that is this. I think you can. So this is a list. You can see this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is my contact information. H Stein photo FOTO at AOL, Instagram stein.harvey, Facebook, and my website. Published books, 10 of them. I wanted to show you some of the twins' work, but we don't have time. That's good, I guess.
It's a good reason to bring you back.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid that this is getting lost. This is getting forgotten. It's the best idea I've ever had in photography. You can go online and find the book for $8. It's a great book. And I want to say that I'm teaching for LACP, Los Angeles Center of Photography, beginning October 24th, a 7-week course on how to get a photo book published, and it's 3 hours a week. I like LACP very much. Needless to say, it's remote. They're a great organization. I teach at ICP. I've been there since 1976. I missed 1 year
That's my alma mater.
then and now, and continue to teach there right now remotely. So I think that's it.
I was going to say that was great. It would be a great excuse to go to Los Angeles to take your 7-week course, but it's remote. So.
Yeah, but it's once a week, so you'd have to you'd photograph the rest of the time, you know? Who has time to do that now? But
Hopefully you can see him at
yeah,
ICP.
yeah, or I teach this class. I started teaching this 15 years ago. I was probably the first one to do it at ICP. Now, a lot of people are doing it. Photo books are in vogue. There
Oh,
are
yeah.
photo book fairs everywhere all the time. You never had this. That shows the growth. It's getting to be a little much. Everyone, again, wants to do a book. We could talk about self-publishing, which I do not advise. I've heard otherwise from other people. I would never do it unless, no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it unless I
I
was.
remember one of my favorite courses at ICP was took the general studies 1 year class there, and
Okay.
during the break they did a making your own book and teaching you how to bind and
Yes,
sew, and it
making
was
your own book. I took that
fabulous.
class. That's doing an art book. Should
Yeah.
I unshare?
Yes, we can do the unshare, and then I know we
Some
have lots of
questions and
questions.
Yeah, we have a bunch of questions. And
Oh,
Harvey,
good.
I would ask, since you said you don't recommend self-publishing, with commercial publishers asking for so much money from photographers anyway to participate,
Right.
what is, and you only get such a low residual when books sell, what is the difference if you're financing the entire thing yourself or going with a commercial publisher? If you have to
Well, the difference is we don't know what we're doing. So, and we don't know what we're getting into. Who's designing the book? Do you get a designer? Do you get an editor? Who's publishing it? Do you have to find the publisher? Are you going to China? You're not going to Massachusetts to do it because it's either prohibitively expensive to print in America, or they're lousy printers. So you're going to spend as much money as I spent on $23,000 with Carrere doing my Mexico book to do it on your own, and you'll get half the expertise. And then you're going to be stuck with how many books? 100, 1,000? To make a book, self-published book work, you've got to be printing 4, 5, 600, 1,000 copies. You're not going to sell that many, I guarantee you. It's who are you selling your self-published book to? Are you making 50 copies? Okay, you'll spend $10,000 and give away 49 copies and maybe sell one. Great. It doesn't pay, and we don't know what we're doing. We can educate ourselves. Only one person I've known, and you probably know him, Robert Herman, a great guy. He did a book called The New Yorkers. It sold out at least 2 or 3 times. And he was a master at raising funds with Kickstarter. And he was great in going into bookstores and getting them, the managers, to take the book. I'm not great at doing that. Do you like doing that? That's not my job. My job is to photograph and make work, not necessarily to sell it. Let the publisher sell it and do that, the hard work, you know. Anyone can self-publish, but you need a lot of money, and you need to really do it well. You need expertise.
you need
Or
all the other skills.
or a team who you have to pay. So you're
Yeah.
going to put out that money anyway.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
I know there was one person that asked early on, do you have a relationship with an editor, or do you use an editor? How do you put that together, and how do you choose, what your layout in the books?
Well, I had an editor at Schiffer. I've done 4 books at Schiffer, 3 books with the same editor, then he retired, and then I have a new editor, and he was pretty good. I never met him. They're in outside of Philadelphia. We produced the book all with me on Zoom and me talking to them on the phone. We designed the book over Zoom. I go down there, but I never met my editor, and that's okay. I designed the book, the Mexico book, with a designer in Heidelberg, Germany. Never met her. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I went there for the printing. And yes, you should have a relationship with your editor if you can. Jim Mars was my editor at W.W. Norton for my Coney Island book. I did a 3rd Coney Island book. It's on the list in color in 1998. That was my first Coney Island book. And Jim Mars was a spectacular editor. And I worked with him trying to do other books, but no, and then he passed away. So yes, get an editor that you like. And you don't want to just do one book with your publisher. You want to do a second and a third. And they too want that. They put that in the contract. They're subsidizing or sponsoring your book for the second book and the third book that you build an audience if you're successful, if your books sell. So yeah.
Awesome. Deb, do you have the next question?
Well, I was going to say that I've only know one person who did well self-publishing, because he did these very specific tourist books that would appeal to tourists in places like in England, like Cornwall and different places. And he would photograph those places and then do really beautiful books that were sold in tourist spots, and hotels bought them. And so he put together a great,
I'm
business plan.
I'm not talking about tourist books or commercial books. That's a commercial thing. I'm talking about
an art book,
good books, art books. I mean, Robert Herman's book is beautiful. It's worth a lot of money now. I think he passed away also. It's a terrific book. And he knew how to do it. I mean, once in a while, someone comes along and does it really well.
I would ask you also, between when you started street photography and now, there's so many changes in society with camera phones, and so many people are more hyper aware of cameras. Do you find it's different?
Yeah, it's different because everyone on the street has a camera phone, or has an iPhone or a phone. And that gets in the way, and they're distracted and disoriented by that, and they don't want to deal with you maybe as much, or the phone's in the photograph. I try to get rid of the phone usually. I don't think it's harder to go up to people, but the phone is an annoyance to I would think most street photographers. Like during COVID, I liked the masks. I did a whole series of people in my neighborhood. I live on the Upper West Side off of Broadway, 97th Street. And I never photographed my neighborhood before. So I'm not going to Midtown. I'm not going to Brooklyn. There's no parades to shoot. So I stuck in my neighborhood, and I did 170 print body of work on my neighborhood with all masks. I love the masks because they were mysterious, they were ambiguous, they were graphic and designy. They were terrific. Who cares about my neighborhood? I don't think I'll ever get published, but at least I occupied my time during COVID.
I wanted to build upon that just
on that subway.
One of the things that you brought up, which I really kind of liked, was that the success rate. Like it was like 50%, yes, in Manhattan. It went up to 75 in Brooklyn. And it's like, so one of the things someone asked, do you get contact information? Do you share the images with your people? But I also want to add on to that, because I know a lot of people are interested in it. Everybody has a different style. What is your style once you kind of identify, I want to photograph that person, of going up to them and talking to them?
Okay, that's a good question. My style has never changed. I berate myself. Why am I not changing? Shouldn't you change? Shouldn't you grow? Wide angle, 21 millimeter. I'm in front of them. I'm frontal, not from the side, not from an angle. I'm down usually shooting up because I like that look, not up their nose, way under, but just down a little bit. I don't want to be at the same eye level. Sometimes I'm above because they're sitting or something. And I'm shooting directly, wide angle, environmental, 4 feet away, 5 feet away. That's my I do a tree that way. I do a dog that way. I've done many goats in India that way, a camel that way, horses that way, and I can't change no matter what I try to do. I should shoot from here. I had a teacher, Ken Heyman, in the 80s or 70s. He did a book called Hip Shot, where he shot from his ankle, a whole book from his ankle, shooting up. I get down sometimes. I get on the ground. It gets harder to get up now, by the way. So,
That's why you
so
get these cameras with, the opposable, you get the articulating screens.
yeah.
It makes it much
I
easier.
mean, I have one way of working usually. I never use a long lens. I have a 50 millimeter beautiful lens, Leica. I shoot 2% with that. No, it's a 35 millimeter, not a 50. And I shoot 2% with it. I'm in love with my 21 Super Angulon. What can I tell you?
And just to finish that off, the thought on this question is, someone had asked, do you ever, exchange the photos or stay in contact or get contacts from any of your subjects?
Well, I've been doing a series with my iPhone, going up to people with it and doing portraits on the street, and I post them and I write stories about them, and that's part of the post. So I'm interviewing them on the street, asking them questions. Why this? What are you doing here? And they're interesting people have to be to begin with. And then I tell them I'm posting it, and so they get that. I don't strangers. I have met many friends. I met my ex-wife on the street, photographing her in the 70s. Not my wife now, of course, my wonderful wife now, but my wife then, Adele. I met her in Central Park photographing a model. And I said, let's get her in the picture. She's really pretty. Let's get her in. And the model said, okay, but not too close in the background, in the background. And then I said to her, okay, I did some pictures of you and the model. Do you want some prints or something? She said, yeah. She gave me her phone number, and I showed up without the prints. So something, and one thing led to then I said, I do talk to people on the street. I'm a shy person in some ways, but with a camera, I become a monster.
It's funny. Deb, you got our next question for us?
Yes. Has anyone from any of your street photos, just seen them somewhere, come across your book and contacted you? And
Yes. Yes, a few. I was in Dallas, and I had a show of Coney Island, and this woman who lived in Dallas, she was in the swim club, and I had photographed her for it. And she came to the gallery where I had the show, and the books were there. And she was looking in the book and said, that's me, that's me. I didn't know her, she's on page 7 in the book or something, in the 40-year book this was. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Not much. Yeah.
It would be fun to see that hugging couple now.
Oh, yeah. I had a friend at NBC News, and we talked about, let's try to find out who they are. This is like, I shot that in 82. This was in 2005 or 6 or 7. Where are they? Are they married? Do they have kids? What's happened to them? And he proposed it to NBC News as a light kind of thing, and they never said yes. So, and then I said, how would I find them? How would I find them? Well, we use the internet somehow, Facebook somehow, I guess. Never happened.
So the audience, at this point, we'd love to, if there's someone that wants to kind of join us live, raise your hand. There's a little raise.
Live questions.
You can raise your hand, and we'll get to a couple live questions. So there's at the very bottom, you can hit raise hand. So we'd love it if someone would join us. Oh, there we go. Our first one.
Yeah,
I'm going to allow
David.
David, join us. What's your question? And you can unmute now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for your great presentation. I'm curious about your approach to people. I mean, listening to you, how you've talked about interacting with people. I'm assuming you're asking to take, photographs of people before you do in most cases.
I don't ask because it's too easy to say no. I nod. I shoot first sometimes. I fall into asking if it's a delicate situation. Like, where was I recently? I don't know. I was at some kind of event. Oh, I was at a topless event in Midtown. Yeah. So I was kind of shy about that, but other people were shooting and I probably asked and they said, yeah, it's okay. And so I don't want to say yes, but if it's a homeless person, which I don't shoot usually anyway, I would certainly ask. Or on a Native American reservation, I've gone on a lot of reservations. I would ask. And I try to be friendly. I usually go in with a compliment. I say, oh, I like your hat. Can I take a photograph? I was at the Afro-American parade and a guy had a big Malcolm X and an X t-shirt. And I said, oh, I love your t-shirt. I'd like to shoot. And he said, okay, but don't do my face. Okay, so I actually did his face because I'm wide angle and he doesn't know that. But I did mostly the X too. But I don't want to ask, but sometimes I do.
Fabulous. Thanks, David, for the question. We're going to Sergio now.
Sergio.
Yes. Hi, Harvey. Thank you for the presentation. That was incredible.
Oh, good. Thank you. Do you have a question?
You have to unmute yourself.
I tried unmuting. I'm sorry.
There we go. We're good. We got you. We got you.
Good. Sorry. Thank you, Harvey. I was thanking you for how great your book was. And then I wanted to ask you, with a 50-year book, what, after all, is the subject of a 50-year book? Because the person who started the book, the person who ends the book, are they the same person? And is the beach the same beach? And I mean, it seems like almost the subject ends up being you somehow.
I hope
you're
so.
the thing. Yeah. Right.
I hope so in a way. I mean, I'm in the book because I've shot the book. It's me doing the work. My strategies become apparent after a while, I guess. But look, the beach is the same. The buildings are the same. The roller coaster is the same. I don't go for that. I go for the people. The people are endlessly different. I do see some of the same people and I make friends with some of the same people. There are characters there that no longer are there from 40 years ago. Maybe I'm there still. I don't haunt the place. I go 10, 12 times a year. Some people go every day. Some people go every Sunday to swim. So yeah, it's changed a little bit. The surrounding area is getting gentrified. Lots of buildings, co-ops and expensive buildings are going up in the area. The rides are a little different always, but it's not, it's the place. It's a beautiful location, but it's the people that every time I go are different.
I think it's
wonderful. And I haven't photographed one person over the years that I can say. Some people, I did use some photographs from the 40-year book into the 50-year book. I put that in the last book, the last picture I showed you. The man, my first picture, the skinny man on the railing. They're both in it twice. I wanted to link the two books, one book being a continuation of the first book, actually. I don't know if that worked or not.
Thanks a lot. We're moving on to Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Maybe you can hear me now.
Yep,
Yeah.
we got you, Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, Harvey, Mark Williams in Boston. Great presentation.
Hi, Mark.
I've been in a number of these, and I'm doing a little publishing, and I'm really struggling with the marketing piece, and that's frequently omitted from the discussion. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, marketing. Well, don't rely on the publisher to market the book. They have a marketing group, they have a PR department. They're 22-year-olds first job out of college. They don't know anything usually. Maybe the head is 24 of the department. So you've got to market it a lot yourself. So what do? I try to have shows. I try to do talks. I try to, yeah, I mean, I don't spread the word. I have a mailing list. I go on Instagram, Facebook now. I mean, I didn't used to. My early books, my twins book, my first 4 books sold 10,000 copies each, roughly. That's what was printed. Now, if you sell 2,000 copies, you're doing well. My Then and There, the Mardi Gras book, we did 400 copies. I have 6 left. The publisher has maybe 9 left. I want to keep 5 for my old age, you know. So I don't have any. I have a couple to sell. I'm having a show of them. I'm going to have the book there. We'll sell a couple maybe. It's hard to sell books. I teach, so my students buy books occasionally. I don't give them an A unless they buy a book. But now I am only doing classes online, so that the sales of books are limited. It's hard to sell books, and the books are $40, $50, $60 unless you're really well known. Or, you know, I try to get on radio shows. I try to get interviewed. I do a lot of interviewing. I have lots of luck with that. Street Photo Magazine and all about photos. They've interviewed me a lot. And Candid Frame, or is it Candid Frame or something Frame? He's interviewed me from California a lot. So I do interviews. I did B&H. I shouldn't mention that, you know, lectures. I try to do the circuit a little bit, but it wears out after a while. And if you're
Did you
not,
say?
go ahead.
I'm so sorry. No, I just wondered, in addition to all that, is there an approach to selling prints and, let's say, the role of the gallery?
Yeah, I haven't done much of that. I'm not interested in printing 10. I mean, I haven't done much of it. I've sold a few. I'm with a gallery. She sold some prints. She's shown some of the work. She did a traveling show of the Coney Island 40-year work. We had some shows around the country. I was in the museum show at Brooklyn Museum with Coney Island, so they had the books. Also, I have a PR agent. I hire an agent, one of the best in the business, Andrea Smith from Brooklyn. I could give you her information, and she helps. She has a 14,000 name list of people that she markets to. She did my PR statement, and yeah, she gets. I've been in lots of magazines, in The Guardian, a lot of overseas stuff. So I think it's important to hire a PR agent if you're serious about it. It doesn't. It's $4,000. Or it depends roughly.
Yeah, if I could just make a comment about that, I'm glad you got to that piece, and then I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
There's a risk of predatory entities out there. I've had people reach out to me, and then I've looked online. Some of my colleagues have warned me about that.
Right.
I just wanted to make people aware that there's at least the potential for that.
Yes. I haven't had that because I'm cautious, and my team, such as it is non-existent. I mean, you know, I have a couple people that I use. I've used Andrea many times, successfully, I think. Same editor when I can. Writers. I want to read. I use writers. I usually barter with writers. I've been lucky. That's another thing. Do you want text? Publishers don't want photographers writing. They don't feel generally that we write well, and I probably have to agree with them. Jill Friedman was one of the exceptions. She was a great writer and terrific, amazing photographer. So do you hire a writer? I've paid writers up to $1,200 for 3 pages. And then I've bartered with many of them.
Wonderful.
And the truth is, most people don't read the writing in a photo book.
Well, we have 2 more live questions we're going to answer. Then we're going to wrap it up with Deb and I asking some questions. Deb, did you have something you want to throw in?
Yeah,
right now?
before we move on, because this relates, question relates, someone was asking if someone wants to buy your books, where can they find them?
They can contact me. I have some books. I have the last 4 or 5 books, and they're on Amazon. Amazon carries all of them. My one book is called Harlem Street Life or Street Portraits. I get them mixed up, and it's sold out. So there's no more of those. And we sold probably 3,000 copies with Schiffer. I asked them to republish it. No, it didn't sell right away. It took 3-4 years. So they're not redoing it. Maybe one of these days. I have a relationship with them, and maybe I should push them a little more. Yeah.
Awesome. Going to our next question. Charles, you have the mic.
Let's get a lady in there one of these questions. Is that Charles
If they raise their
Chestnut?
hand, if they raise their hand.
Hi, Charles Chesler here. How are
Hi,
you?
Charles. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank
being
you for a great presentation and really inspiring work, number one. Number two, I would like a copy of Then and There, and I would like to buy it from you.
Okay.
And number three, question is, you mentioned whittling down for the latest project from 5,000 to 300, and that. So can you speak a little bit about how you go about doing that?
It's really painful. I spent July with my wife on North Fork, and we rented a house for the month. Almost every day I was looking at my shoots from 2020 and 2023 of India and going through them one by one and choosing images. And so I got that down to maybe the 300. Well, not, I haven't even looked at 2017. I've looked at 2013 and 2014. I would say I'm shooting, I might have 10,000. I don't know. I haven't counted them. And I just look at them online and make choices from what looks good on my screen. Before this, this will be my first digital book. My first book made with digital images. We've scanned black and white images, film images before. In the past, I've made 8x10 prints of my project, and that's lengthy, you can imagine. And I use prints on the floor on a big table. I'd go to ICP and use their table and lay out the prints and make selections and sequencing. We haven't talked about sequencing. That's a huge issue. I might have 150 images for India, but I'm going to be hard pressed to sequence them. I can do it on the screen, but there's nothing like having prints, I feel. That's old school. People may not agree with it. The youngins may not do it that way. There's probably a lot of ways to do it, but I need to look at the work and think about it, and then think of the context. What goes with what? This is a great photograph, but it has no relation to what I'm saying. Out, I need the thing to be realized in my head at least, because that helps me choose which images should go in and which should not.
Right.
They
So-
say,
Thank
they say you have to be willing to kill. You have to be willing to kill your darlings.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So
It's
these are the
hard.
last two live questions, Jake, and because I think Amelia
hope
may
that
be a
answers your
female and Harvey asked for one, we're gonna ask Amelia too. But Jake, we're gonna allow you to talk first, and then we're gonna close with Amelia.
Okay, it's getting late. And thank you for being here. Gosh.
Harvey? Jake Levison from Taylor Alderdice.
Oh my God, Jake, I want to see your face. Can I see your face?
I don't know. I
I don't think I
know
can.
how to get
Yeah,
that
one
turned
second
on
here.
here.
Let me. There we
Oh,
go.
Jake,
There you
I
go,
wanna
Jake.
see you, buddy.
If you
This
have a
is a
camera,
kid-
you can
This is a
activate it.
kid I knew when I was 10 years old, 12
Ah.
years old. I went to see Louis Armstrong with him and his dad. Do you remember that?
What's that?
Do you remember us going to see Louis Armstrong? With
Oh,
your
yeah.
dad? Yeah,
One of the highlights of,
one of my highlights of my childhood.
yeah,
you-
with my dad.
Your father, yeah, wow.
All
I
right,
think of that a lot.
there we go.
Oh my God, not there either. I recognize you.
Harvey, I'm going through 60 years worth of negatives and digital images myself. But I'm curious about your your production process. You shoot these street images. Do you go through and crop them, play with them?
Well, I don't do it online. I do it in the dark room when I make the prints. And then I make, well, let's see then we have to convert them to digital files. And all of that is worked. Yeah, so it's on, I don't do it. I hire someone to do the
No, I guess what I'm asking is, are you cropping or are you dealing with the image as you've shot it?
No, I crop. I try to crop in camera, but then I'm not always successful. In the darkroom, I'll crop or online. Yeah, I use Photoshop poorly, and I'll do it there. I won't do it though for the book. I'll hire someone to do it. But yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I guess it's once you get them chosen, then you get the post-production done.
Yeah. There's always post-production, whether it's in the darkroom, you call that printing, or in online with Photoshop or something.
I will be in touch with you. I'd
Please.
love to catch up with you.
Yeah, I would love to talk with you on the phone. I don't have your email. It's one email that I want to get. It's on my
All right,
list.
I will send you one when we get off here.
Okay,
Fantastic.
great, Jake. Thanks a
Jake.
lot.
Appreciate it.
Great to
And
see
here we go
you.
with our last live
Yeah.
question. Amelia, we're gonna kick it over to you.
Hey,
Yes.
Amelia.
Hi. So I felt I had to represent females.
Thank you.
So here we are. But I
What
did
kind, chopped liver?
I'm missing this. What's the question?
no, I was saying, first of all, thank you very much. It's been very, very informative and for me, very constructive to listen to you. You were saying that you end up with thousands of photographs. How do you know when you process the photo, you develop them and so on? How do you choose the winner? Is it a lonely process? Do you, obviously you print them, you look at them. Do you?
So with film, I look at contact sheets. I enlarge, I use a loop. It's called a loop.
Yes.
An
Yeah.
8x loop. So it makes it like an 8x10 print. And I use an old-fashioned China marker, mark up the contact sheet, and then I get my negatives and go into the darkroom and print. I have 25,000 8x10 prints in my small office here.
Wow.
Right behind me is my film developing room. I have a dark room in Midtown that I share. It's not fancy at all. Yesterday I was at ICP making contact sheets. I made 82 contact sheets.
Wow.
Contact sheets. Then I look at each one with the loop, each frame, and maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get 3 pictures off a roll of film, 36 images in a roll. maybe one, maybe none. And then I make the print, and 9 out of 10 prints I like. I make mistakes and I shouldn't have printed that. It's not in focus. I didn't notice that. And then I take the prints and lay them out, and I segregate them. This is my pile of Coney Island. This is my pile of, artists. And it's a long process. That's why it takes 6 years, 10 years. With digital, this is new for me. I'm doing India digitally. I'm shooting film, but my book is going to be all just my digital work, and I'm looking at each one in preview. I'm doing it in preview. I could do it in Bridge, but preview's easy. Bridge is probably better because you can mark them up. You can rate them. In preview, you can't. So I look at each one and I see the number and I write the number down that I like. If I don't like it, I don't write it down. I have a long list. And then I just aggregate the ones that I like and then look at them again maybe and knock out some more. And then I'm showing them to Margarita.
Okay. So you do show them to someone
Just
else.
I always show to one person.
Okay.
Change because they're out of my life, or they moved away, or they're not around, or they don't want to do it. And it's usually I've never paid anyone. I don't trust that at all. I pick Margarita because she's brilliant with what she does and a wonderful person. And I've used other people, other photographers. Don't use your family member. Use another photographer. Use another artist. Use someone whose taste. It could be a designer whose taste you admire and respect to help you. Don't use 5 people because you'll get 5 different answers. It'll drive you nuts. One person is you. I feel very confident in my ability to choose. This is what I do. I'm a teacher. I look at portfolios all the time. I just juried Critical Mass. I looked at 200 photographers' work, 12 images each. The woman said, "Oh, it won't take time." It took me days and days and days. 200 photographers, and they didn't pay you a dime. Those, I mean, Christ,
Fabulous.
Great.
Well, we get to the
Thank
point
you.
now. We
That
got
was
the last 2
helpful.
questions,
Thank
and
you.
Deb gets to throw her last question to you, and then I ask you a question that I ask all of our photographers. So Deb, I'm going to throw it to you.
Let me say, you're welcome to email me or to contact me. I'm open to that. I am really busy right now, and I'm going to India. But if you want to think about taking a class or buying a book,
Yes.
you can just Google me, and my email and my email's on my website, and you can be in touch and
Yes.
and look at my posts and like my work. That would be lovely. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
shall do so. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harvey. Before I ask the last 2 quick questions, I wanted to say what someone wrote in the chat. Harvey, you saved me a fortune. You were the first one to say at Photoville presentation, there was a dirty little secret of having to pay to publish. I explored academic presses and got lucky, but I'm my own marketer.
Wow.
That was from Marcia Bricker.
Nice.
Who's that from?
Marcia Bricker.
I think the name is familiar. The other thing we didn't talk about, we talked about self-publishing, but not about university presses. That's a whole other thing. I cover all of this in my classes. I mean, you can see how thorough I am. Okay. Another question you had, I think?
Yes, just 2 quick questions. One, do you have a favorite? We talk so much about books. Do you have a favorite photo book of someone else's work? A book that's, influenced?
I knew you were going to ask that. Anything by Winogrand, Daido Moriyama is wonderful. I love a wonderful book that I have from 1973. It's called Transformations by Lucas Samaras, his Polaroid work, where he photographed himself in his kitchen, self-portraits, and it's just amazing. That's a great book. It's probably not available. I mean, Bruce Gilden's work I have always liked, and it's really strong. And his books, I have several of his books. But Winogrand for me is the ultimate. Lee Friedlander, his books were always expensive. East 100th Street by Bruce Davidson, a great book from 1969, I think. I know Bruce. I knew him. I asked him to sign my copy of it. It was softbound. He said, "Harvey, why didn't you get the hardbound? It's another $10." I said, "Bruce, 1969, I barely could afford this, let alone spend $20 on a book. It was a $10 book, Those are some of the books I revere.
Okay.
I'd have to think a little more.
Well, there's a lot of good ones to chew on there. And one last question from me, and then I'll hand it over to Travis, is what do you think is the most important attribute for a street photographer?
To like people and to be aggressive but courteous, and not get into fights like Bruce Gilden did. I don't know if he still does. He's really aggressive. I've never been harmed on the street. I've never been yelled at, I mean, I'm respectful, but I'm aggressive. And that. You've seen me do that. I mean, I get into people's faces. But like people, I like people, the variety of people. And listen, I wouldn't be a street photographer if I didn't live in New York. It begs for it. It asks for it. I'm from Pittsburgh. It's a nice city, but I wouldn't be a street photographer there probably, or I'd find it very difficult. My advice is to go to where the people are. I don't shoot parades, but I go to the parades because that's where they accumulate, the people en masse, and they're in this interesting clothing and costumes, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a method to my madness, I guess.
I can't thank you enough for letting us see through your eyes for the last 2 hours and letting us see the thoughts behind those eyes and explaining how you see. I ask a question to every one of our photographers that we interview and talk with, and always kind of conclude with this, and it's on the most personal level and not the definition of the word. What is photography to you?
Me, it's my life. my wife gets mad at me. I shouldn't say that. I am more into the photography than our relationship, and I don't agree with that. But it's like it saved my life. I do say this. I mean, I was in my 20s. I had from graduation to 28. I had 5 or 6 jobs. I had an engineering degree. I went back to Columbia to get a master's degree in business. I worked in business, and I didn't like any of it. And I always wanted to be creative. And I picked up the camera while I was in Germany in the Army. And I said, wow, I could do this. This is for me. It's just to get out and see the world. And I mean, it's just amazing. Sontag said, you miss things when you travel with a camera. It heightens my experience of where I am and my involvement with, and it's not with the buildings or the sites, it's with the people. What's more important than people? With our families, and I mean, we're people, and we want to be with people. We don't want to be alone usually. I mean, I'm alone. I'm in the dark room. I can be alone at home, but photography is people, not the studio for me, and life. It's life.
I think one of the things, and you kind of summed it up just right there, is you said how shy you were and could be. And that camera was that key that opened up doors that normally, so when you travel, it opens up doors that you may have just not opened or even looked up. And that's
Right.
a beautiful thing.
I can be shy with the camera too sometimes. Oh, I'm not in the mood. I say, if you don't go over to that person, you're not getting dinner tonight. You're going to get smacked on the hand. Get over there. What's stopping you? I talk to myself, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to just get up and do it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
I'm going
Thank
to
you.
let Deb talk us out here, but I want to say thank you from APA. I'm Travis Keys, and Deborah, why don't you talk us out? And
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for co-hosting tonight, and thank you, Harvey, so much for another fantastic talk. Every time I hear you speak, there are nuggets in there. You get new nuggets of things to to help you in your photography in your life. And
you might announce that it will be recorded if people want to tell people about it. I mean,
yes,
Absolutely.
it was recorded. It will be on the APA YouTube channel at some point in the near future. We'll post it in when it's up. We will post it in our newsletter, the link, so you can find it, or go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel so you get a notice when it goes up.
There we go.
So, but thank you so much, Harvey. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Any closing words from you, Harvey, where that people should find you, or any kind of last nuggets of wisdom? Or I think you've summed it all up, but we always give our guests the final closing word.
I'll be on the streets. I'm around. I was in Argentina. Yeah, Harvey Stein. I was here. Every once in a while, someone comes up. Don't be shy, and go out and do your thing. Photograph, even if you don't feel like it sometimes, and try to find a project that you could sink your teeth into. That gave me and continues to give me motivation to work. I mean, it's okay to be aimless, but it's better to find a project, and you could try 2 or 3 at a time. Why not? Just try it and see what happens, and be adventurous.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Nice way to close it. From all of us at APA, we thank you and have a picture perfect day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.